New sponsor.
LeBron it with a goal ball.
All right, everybody. Welcome to a brand new Boss Room. We are here in our brand new streaming space. We're slowly upgrading everything. We've got a new camera.
There's Easter eggs behind us, by the way.
Yeah, there is. Take a look.
Zoom in.
And yeah, so we're here. I'm Rohan Rivas, the Studio Communications Manager with Cliff and Zach Lowry.
What's
The
up?
Raging Cajun himself.
So guys, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about everything from patch notes that are upcoming in tomorrow's beta, which, it's coming up very quick. We're going to show some videos, and we're also going to talk about a lot of things and have QA with the chat and then from our social as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Let's get this party started.
Yeah.
I'm just really, I feel like every time that we have a beta, it feels like the night before Christmas. It's like Christmas Eve vibe. And it's like, tomorrow we're going to get in. It's, hitting at noon East, 9 Pacific, and it's just going to be hopping online and blowing off as many meetings as possible to play with all you guys.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff. I think people are going to dig this time.
I'm going to move the mic a little bit closer to you guys.
How's the audio, guys? We're going to go in and sing like 80s like rock stars. Like, yeah.
So you guys may want to kind of lean into it if you're going to, well,
Video games are a lean forward experience as opposed to a lean back.
All right, there we go. So a few things. What we want to do is this is our first stream since we've come back from E3.
Yeah.
E3 was crazy.
Yeah, I think we've all finally recovered from it.
Yeah, we announced a lot of stuff there. Date, price, new role, which is Harrier, that we're going to talk about for a little bit.
That's one of our favorites.
Vertigo, a map that's going to be playable starting tomorrow during the closed portion of the beta.
Yep.
And yeah, just a lot of stuff. So I think one thing to start with, let's just take a look at the Harrier role reveal trailer, and
Jumping right into video.
and then we'll talk about it with the guys who helped make
Baron
it.
in Sunshine.
HANA Artificial Intelligence initialized. Role analysis. Harrier. Sunshine.
Tell me I can't. I'll show you I can.
Orphaned in the streets of Birmingham, Sunshine found solace in pursuing a life fighting alongside Abaddon and the Archangels for the greater good. Strange, all of their personal details have been wiped from the grid. Contact Archangels for further information. Searching. Harrier. Baron.
Fear the killer who chooses only to smile.
Baron's family was considered collateral damage during the post-shattering Haitian Hydronium riots. He was subsequently arrested by task authorities and imprisoned for trying to intervene. Baron recently escaped confinement with a man known as Kronos and is fighting for the faction known as the Lifers. He is wanted dead or alive. Beginning Harrier combat evaluation. The Harrier is a long-range laser specialist and team support role, capable of dealing heavy damage with their beams, supporting allies in the field by increasing team damage and providing health and fuel recharging capabilities. The Harrier's primary weapon is the Shock Croc laser rifle. It fires a constant stream of hydronium-fueled particle energy that deals persistent damage in a straight line. Its alt-fire can mark enemy targets for a short duration that increase the amount of damage they receive from both the Harrier and allies. Ideal combat scenarios pair the use of the Shock Croc with skillful combat movement of the Harrier's Raycaster boots. Whatever direction the bottom of the Raycasters are pointing, high mobility ensues, resulting in the Harrier being incredibly adaptable to most all engagements. This movement is ideal for lending aid at a moment's notice. While the Harrier is known for their unique movement systems and long-range damage, they also aid friendlies with deployable recharge stations, providing support in the form of health and fuel regeneration. Fascinating. Grid reports that the Harrier can manifest a beam convergence. By unifying the hydronium energies coursing through the Shock Croc and Raycasters, the Harrier can unleash a searing beam-based attack that deals massive damage for a duration of time. Evaluation summary. The Harrier is a long-range support specialist with a variety of support abilities that augment the battlefield with regen and damage boosts. Along with high-powered beam weaponry, the Harrier is a tactical necessity for successful combat operations. Analysis complete. Uploading data to the grid. HANA out.
All right. So it was awesome to reveal that at E3. It's not going to be playable in the beta tomorrow, but we thought it was really important to get that role out there, get those characters out there, because I would say it's probably our most conceptual role to date.
Yeah, I mean, we have to save, some characters and roles for launch, and this is the 9th one. Of course, 2 characters, Law versus Breakers, but that's one of those things that's not going to be our final one. There's going to be other ones. We've already played the 10th one, but for me, these characters turned out to be so iconic and so unique, and as we develop later and later characters, just pushing for the things in the silhouette that make them unique. The cool hair, the chest symbol, the boots, it really added up to be really, really memorable.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite classes to get to work on, and it's. I remember months back when we were trying to figure out what this role was going to be, and we had choices between a few, and Cliff and I were discussing it. It was like, dude, we're talking about doing laser shoes. Like, we've got to go this route, right?
Well,
like,
that's the way that I remember it. Is you and Andrew Witt's designer. He's since moved on. He had some other stuff going on, but he was very, very valuable during the time he was here. Really charismatic guy. You guys came around and was like, dude, laser shoes. And I'm like, what? We got to do freaking laser shoes. And I'm like, are you high? And what I always like to say is the best ideas sometimes they start as a joke. And, we have our kind of, enforcer character covered. We got the assassin with the grapple and the stab and all that. And that's great. Time to get a little bit funky with, lasers shooting out of feet and Care Bear stairs coming out of chests. That's showing my age there.
Yeah, even when I first heard this idea, like, I was kind of off-put by it. But then when you really start to break it down, like, I love a challenge, and I love when we start talking about new roles, doing things that other people have never done before, you've never seen. So when we started getting down to the nitty gritty of like, I want to be able to use my shoes to kill people and shoot lasers at them, not just my gun. Like it just all clicked at that moment.
Yeah, the E ability on it's very really useful because it's not just health; it's also replenishes fuel. So if you're going by yourself and no one else is around you, you use up all your laser shoes fuel to kind of traverse the map. Tapping shift with very good timing, kind of like tribe skiing. You throw it down, you get full fuel, and you just keep hauling across the map, or you can toss it on the wall, as was shown in that video, and then somebody just wall runs and grabs the health and the fuel. I haven't seen that a lot in a lot of games.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was really cool, because I wrote the Hannah piece, right, and was going through and looking at all the abilities.
Who's this Hannah? Who are you speaking of?
Yeah, a little teaser there with that Hannah AI. But is the cool movement, right? Because you were, even if you like fly backwards, right, and you kick your feet up, you can deal damage that way, which is really, really cool, and it's different from anything else.
Yeah, it's super unique. There's like this really cool, like almost like ocean wave-like pattern that you end up playing with, because you get into 0G and you either blind fire or you just hit shift like Cliff was saying, and you kind of boost yourself in there. Then you start drilling people with this laser shock croc, and then you swing your feet up and you start going back. So you start creating this like rhythmic flow within the battle. Yeah, it's really awesome.
And if you are using your shoes in midair and somebody's below you, you can fry them as well. And it's one of those things when you hit F or melee to kick, you give them both feet at the same time. So it's really gratifying. Someone's coming at you and you're like, boom, double boot to the face, melting you. So I'm a fan of it. It's the cadence of the shift and the movement speed is something that's a little bit tricky to learn. Once you learn it, you're going to be flying across the map effortlessly.
It takes a while to master, but you can jump right in. I think one of the things, too, that we should really focus on with this class, with it being kind of like an off-healer, fuel replenisher.
Yeah, the more support
But we've got this extra support that none of the other roles have, and that's a kind of anti-tank ability on the right click of the shot croc, excuse me. So you can fire off your alt fire and mark a target, and then for a certain amount of time, that target will take increased damage from your team or yourself as well. So Juggernauts come in or Titans start ulting, you fire that off, and everybody can kind of focus their attention on that and melt them down pretty quick.
It's like this burning white phosphorus slug that's kind of tricky to hit them with, because you have to kind of like actually aim. It's not a trace. Tag them with it. I like to tag them with that. You can see that they're like glowy and burny, and then I go in with the shock rock primary fire, melt them down, and then finish with the double boot. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, just like the Juggernaut has.
Exactly.
So one thing that I found that players were really looking for are more support classes. And would you guys say that the Harrier is basically like a long-range support specialist?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, it's not just a completely dedicated support character. I mean, like when we talked about what we were doing with the Battle Medic, it was a character that could heal people and create a bubble shield and an impact, but could also hang back and compete offensively. And that's kind of one of the overall goals for the game, as we've talked about, is each role can go against each other role in the other team, and you're not completely fucked in regards to the meta. Yeah. So the Harrier played right can take out a Juggernaut or a Titan anytime.
Exactly. You can kind of play it in many different ways depending on how your playstyle complements the kit that the role has. You can do it from a purely, I'm going to stay back and throw out my recharge stations for my team and kind of just provide support from that aspect. Or you can go completely lone wolf with it, and you've got enough abilities to sustain yourself by refueling yourself, getting health back, and then also providing that anti-tank support, which is crucial sometimes when you're trying to take turf war zones or get in there and dunk a blitz ball on somebody.
Yeah, that beam just melts people. And the funny thing about that gun, the Shock Rock, was it was actually one of the very first guns that was designed in this game like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were kind of figuring out what this character was, and I'm like, whenever they design other characters and roles, I'd be like, can you please bring back the Shock Rock? Because for whatever reason, it kind of slipped into the ether, and then it finally got resurrected. It has that kind of like crocodile look to it, which is hence the name, and of course electric. And the little teeth are kind of twitchy, and it to kind of provide that secondary animation. And just when you hit I to inspect our weapons, I think it's D-pad up on PS4.
Left, D-pad left.
One of those.
And you're just holding the thing up. You're like, ooh, it's got that like nice carbon fiber finish, and I just want somebody to make a prop of it in cosplay.
Cool. So we're super excited about Harrier. We can't wait for everybody to play him and her at launch. So next thing I really want to get into is the beta that's starting, right? So we've had E3. We are moving immediately into our Rise Up beta, which is going to be closed for 2 days starting tomorrow. And then on Friday, we open it up on Steam. Balance changes, huge part of how we're making the game, right? We are taking community feedback and we are actively iterating on the game. Let's talk about some of the biggest balance changes that are coming to the beta tomorrow.
The big one for me is the Juggernaut just being a beast these days. There was that kind of pump action that was in earlier versions that since kind of has been removed, and you have these DPS characters, and you get your CS:GO players who are really, really good at getting that crosshair on you and melting you as quick as possible. And it's one of those things that if somebody gets the drop on me with a DPS character and I'm the Juggernaut, I can turn around and drop a shield to temporarily stop them from melting me, hit Q to armor up, close the range a little bit with my shift or blind fire, and then just start peppering them with a very consistent shotgun spray. And I find myself melting fools more than ever, and it's really, really useful, and I actually play as them finally.
Yeah, Juggernaut's been kind of a labor of love. We've been trying to find the right spot for this role for a long time. He's been a little bit trashed, and then we tried to bring him back up to the level.
Is trash.
Yeah, he's a little garbaggio, but we're trying to bring him back up, and I think he's in a really healthy spot right now. One thing that we learned, we're trying to have this mentality of we're not creating weapons that have like one-shot abilities, right? We want there to be a little bit of counterplay, but we still have a pretty high TTK in the game. But what we started to realize with the shotgun was the pump was just too much of a delay in between shots, so that there was no time to to react to assassin comes in. I'm not gonna one-shot her, but I hit this damage, and then she's dashed past me, and by the time I pump my gun and I try to find her, I just can't. Yeah, you're dead.
Absolutely.
So we did that, and I think one of my favorite changes that we made outside of the gun is the armor ability. When you armor up and you hit your Q, there's no longer a delay. We used to play an animation where your hand comes up and it's like, oh, look at my armor. And that's really cool from an animation standpoint, but it just delayed you from being able to do anything. So now you can sprint in, you can jump, you can be shooting, and you hit your Q, and your armor just comes on and off. So there's no delay, and that really starts to help in combination with the buffed up shield that you can now throw down that has a lot more health to it.
Yeah, that shield was just like paper mache in the earlier betas.
Yeah.
Shield, they're like rocket. Get that shield out of here. And when you armor up, you feel like you're in like the cockpit of Gypsy Danger, like from Pacific Rim, and it's it kind of breaks consistency in regards to what our ultimates were before. Like, the timer's counted down. Do something awesome. That, by the way, still requires you to aim. But for this, the ability to kind of toggle it kind of allows you mid-level to kind of still be effective without waiting for that darn timer to always be down. Oh, and there is a trade-off, by the way. I believe the Q takes your shiftability fuel.
Yeah, you consume more fuel if you're sprinting while your armor is up. But we also armoring up. But we also decreased the amount of fuel that's consumed while your Q ability is active. So I think he's in a much healthier spot. Trying to bring him up similar to some of the changes that we did with Vanguard in the previous betas.
Sure,
coming for you tomorrow.
Yeah, so keep that in mind, right? I mean, the Juggernaut has gotten a few tweaks and buffs. Definitely a role that you want to play whenever you're playing blitzball. You need to have that solid base defense.
That is huge, because I saw so many people. I think one of the main comments on our awesome Blur trailer, that was the whole Spirit in the Sky remix, was like the third comment in the top vote was like, play as Wraith, slide in, score, step 3 profit, right? It's like, well, if somebody was actually playing as the Juggernauts and they come sliding in, you're just watching the distance meter and you're just like, shield, and then just armor up, and then by that time that shield, gets worn away, your teammates hopefully will be there. Because the Wraith isn't very heavy. The Wraith is like mid-level squish, right?
You can melt them down. We played all weekend long trying to finalize this game and get it ready for everybody. And I was playing primarily Juggernaut, just running blitzball defense at the goal, and I had a blast.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do as well.
Yep.
So the next thing on the docket, I think, is the Assassin.
Yes.
Very, very controversial, and I would say to some degree the most challenging from a balance perspective, even back in alpha, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this role has been a part of the game in a very forward-facing capacity, last year. So what have we done now to help get her into a better place?
What have we done?
Yeah, so Assassin's been an interesting challenge trying to balance, as you hit on. One of the main things that we tried to do with these changes was not necessarily take anything away from her, but just kind of shift some of the power around. One thing that we did hit on right off the bat is the Romorus. We've been getting a lot of feedback on the Romorus over the last few betas and even since the alpha. So what we did is we took a little bit of the damage off. Not much, just a little bit, but we also reduced the amount of rounds in the clip and then slow down the reload by about 5%. So that starts to help you have a little bit of counterplay, because before she had like 6 or 8 shots in there and then the reload was less than a second, so you were just getting this constant sustain of bullets from the Romorus.
We're finding that players were like either using the blades all the time or the Romorus, and like we want people to use the stuff that's in their kit and kind of go between it.
Yep.
So if the reload's a little bit longer and they're close and they've closed that gap, switch to the blades and vice versa, right?
Yeah. And then the other large thing that we did with the Assassin is we added the like a precision hit mechanic on the arc blades. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, so if you're new to Lawbreakers and you jump right in, one of the most attractive things right off the bat is the Assassin. You see this badass chick standing there with 2 blades. It's like, yes, I want to slash people up, right? So new players were immediately drawn to her, and then you could almost skilllessly just tap left click if you got near somebody and chop them down. So we wanted to add some higher skill play to this. So we took down the damage that was done in the 3-hit combo on each attack. And then what we did is we put some more damage into the precision hits. So now if your reticle is accurately on somebody at the time that you click the button, you'll get a skill bonus to it. So if you can skillfully hit 3 times, you're going to do a lot more damage than if you're just kind of hitting with this trapezoid cast in front of you.
There you go. Just, continue to aim.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that goes back to, it being skill-based, right? I mean, you need to have that edge, pun intended, to be able to... It's terrible. It's terrible. F my life.
It's good.
And it's good, yeah. So we're really excited to see what everybody thinks of the changes, and let us know definitely in the feedback with the beta starting tomorrow on the Assassin specifically.
Yeah, please do.
Yep, let us know. So any other odds or ends from the balance changes that are going into tomorrow that you guys want to talk about?
Just some general housekeeping and things like that. Like we realized in between... closed beta 1 and closed beta 2 that we may have taken the gunslinger down a little bit too far, and we want to make sure that he is involved in that meta. Like we really like to see some of these high skilled players using precision shots. So we've we kind of pushed his fall off back a little bit so that he gets a little bit more range, and there's some more damage that you get rewarded in that fully charged Omega shot.
Nice.
Yeah, and just a couple other little things here and there.
Bugs that are fixed. There's that aerator trace thing that was going through there. There's actually a lot. The team's been really busy.
Yeah.
So like this past weekend, everybody had to come in and like play test the game to get it ready for the beta and whatnot. Yeah, that's the collision thing that Nathan fixed, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I can't speak to that too much. There's a lot of back end stuff. Please read the patch notes. We're speaking primarily just to like balance changes within the roles, but yeah, the engineering team's been working their ass off getting all this stuff ready for beta 3. So
Yep. So if you haven't looked at the notes yet, please, we'll post them in chat. Take a look, right? I mean, and really investigate the changes that were made, because it is going to affect the ecosystem of all of the roles, including all of that back-end stuff as well. So yeah, we're trying to make a better game with your feedback.
Continue to have that cadence where, a version comes out, we get your feedback, we, patch it all up, we enhance it, improve it, release another version, and continue to iterate to make the best game for y'all.
So a couple of...
Real Southern real quick.
So a couple other things that we're doing in the beta starting tomorrow is weapon stickers. So this is a fun little thing. Just a quick note, for anybody who plays in the beta, you play 5 matches. You complete 5 matches, and you will earn a special beta weapon sticker that will transfer to the full game.
Good in school, and they put a little star
Yeah.
in your forehead. Same shit.
And just to call this out here, I absolutely love the fact that you can inspect your weapons. And you guys on the animation team did some custom animations for the rolls.
We did, yeah. Make sure if you're playing on PC, you hit I on the keyboard, and you'll be able to inspect your weapons. All weapons have them. Some of them are really cool, and they were definitely fun to make.
The thing was, we have some of these great shaders on the weapons that you may not necessarily always see while you're just running around with this weapon, kind of, first-person focused tunnel vision. When the weapon reloads, you may see a little bit of it, but in order to see that really sleek paint job, we have some ones that kind of have that, classic, speckled, flecky paint in it, looking like an awesome car show type
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
That's, when you inspect it first when you're configuring the weapons, but then to see it actually in the engine. Of course, you have to make sure it's a quiet spot when you inspect the weapon, otherwise you'll get shot.
Mm-hmm.
So the weapon stickers are just another layer of fun customization.
When I first showed up, I was like, why is there a fucking dinosaur in my yard?
Yeah,
It was a velociraptor for like 3 days.
It's called the Mako, not the Raptor. What the hell? But yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to layer in more weapon stickers, and then hopefully someday do some fun stuff with weapon stickers. There's a lot of versatility there. But yeah, you want to be able to further customize your weapon and have that, that first-person real estate right there on the gun. You want to be able to make it yours. So
One more fun thing to find in the stash drops.
Yep. So some really cool stuff coming there, so you can play around with it starting tomorrow. And the last thing is Vertigo, a brand new map. So that is playable tomorrow.
Yeah, so Vertigo is a map. There's a little bit of history that Vertigo is designed by Hunter to be kind of almost like the facing worlds for those of you who remember the Emerald Tournament series. It's the 2 bases, no nonsense, just cut to the chase. You can get across the base really, really quickly. Don't fall off because there's not a lot of floor. This is literally like the floor is lava, the map.
Don't look down either.
Yeah, don't look down. It's hence the name. But it's very much the essence of LawBreakers boiled down to this white knuckle or nail biting experience, and I think it's going to really play well in the servers. Make sure to occasionally use the gravity orbs on the outside to kind of get the assisted launch. You can go underneath the map, you can go above the map, sideways. It seems very simple, but it's got a lot of layers to it, like an onion.
So what we'll do is we're going to say adios to Mr. Zach Lowry. All right, thank you for joining us.
GG, everyone.
And
see you guys in the beta.
And what we're going to do is take a look at Vertigo map trailer that's fresh from E3. And some of you guys probably haven't seen it. So let's take a look, and we'll come back with Hunter. As a task-built and operated structure that exists in near suborbital elevation, Vertigo is a map that elevates LawBreakers' gravity-defying combat to a new level, providing spherical gravity and engaging traversal options. Whether you use the game's experimental G40 gravity spheres to sling yourself toward the objective, or showcase your skill by grappling onto patrolling drones for a sneak attack, Vertigo is all about push and pull, and looking cool while you do it. From a fictional perspective, Vertigo stands as one of many observational outposts, and by nature of its design, a combat training facility for task operators to learn advanced zero-G maneuvers. Circling beholder drones sweep the Earth below for gravity anomalies, and the G40 gravity spheres serve task gravity experimentation and also as training equipment for task's latest and greatest enrollments. Regarding gameplay, Vertigo is all about getting from one point of the map to the other quickly, and using the map's unique features to get the advantage. Since it's one of LawBreakers' smallest maps, many roles have movement abilities that can get you to objectives fast, and fortune certainly favors the bold. You can bypass the map's walkways entirely, staying out of sight, but make sure you're good enough or risk falling to your death. Since the map is tight and small, teamwork is key. Make sure you always have a strong defense on objectives, and if you're on the defense, always watch your base's flanks. Vertigo is a high-risk, maximum reward map the team at Boss Key Productions always wanted to make. It's fast, frantic, and for those high-skill players, a true showcase of what can be done in LawBreakers' gravity-defying combat. So that is Vertigo, and that is playable starting tomorrow in the Rise Up beta. And now we have Hunter, our lead level designer, here joining us. just to talk about Vertigo and the process and the map.
I would like, sometimes what happens is that, and guys, this is an audio check, let us know if we're doing well, because some of the levels got fucked up. The levels sometimes just show up, and I'll be in the playtest lab, and this, like, white box will be here, and I'm like, I don't know this is fun, what the fuck, where did this come from? Like, what was the genesis of this for you?
So pretty much, like, the map just started as, hey, we have all these maps following this very specific format. Let's change it up a little bit. So that's pretty much it. Very high level. The art set used to be set in a canyon, but as we worked through Grandview, we go like, man, that shit's boring. So let's come up with something different. And so the art team and I, we sat together and came up with a good idea. Let's put it up in the sky, really high up. So that's it. Vertigo was born from that.
Yeah, and what I think is cool, right, is that it actually has a thematic tie to another map in the game. So there's this level of lore and fiction that goes along with it, which is really cool because we're trying to build all that out from an environmental storytelling perspective. But the map is just very different.
It's true.
Yeah, it's one of those things when it comes to like a fiction standpoint. If you pay attention to the levels that start coming online, there's certain points where what's below this kind of like tower that's way up in the stratosphere, and it actually is another one of the maps. If you go and play the station map, the incredibly snug Java station map that's in the Los Angeles section, you look out the window certain parts, you can actually see the Ferris wheel from the Promenade map. So trying to kind of like daisy chain these together, so you kind of really feels like one whole consistent world.
Exactly. The interconnectedness, I think it's always a good thing. It's just those little bits that are hinted at that are awesome. So
little bits.
Yeah, it's good.
So in regards to Vertigo, right, for all of these beta players that are going to play it, for the first time tomorrow, Hunter, like, what would be probably your biggest tip for Vertigo as a map playing on it?
Make sure that you use the third spawn exit. That's the key to this map, because of the fact that the spawn rooms are so close to the bases that it seems like it's easy to get camped, but you always have that third exit that it gives you an easy out to get around that and bypass that. Aside from that, just make sure you're just watching all fronts, because the map is super porous. There's entryways all around, so you just got to be prepared for everything.
The map being so fairly open and porous is one of my favorite things to do, and I think this is what encouraged us to make this the case, is when I'm playing as Maverick or Tosca and I'm getting ready to do Starfall, is holding the Q button and getting ready, and like you actually accelerate as you go down, as you smash into the enemy's base, so like leaping out of the window.
All the way across.
And before it did accelerate, it was just like a consistent, flying down, and then they made it so it actually ramps, so you're like literally death from above, like this meteorite that's coming in to smash the shit out of the other team.
Yeah, savage.
Now,
from a level design standpoint, right, what would you say is probably the biggest difference between Vertigo and the other maps that players have played so far in the beta?
Well, just the fact that you're surrounded on all fronts by the edge of the map. And
Sure.
so like some of the best kills that I get are when I boot somebody off the edge and they can't recover in time and they fall to their death. There's a really horrifying scream, so shout out to the audio team for that.
Yeah, that came in like hot. God, it was like 6 months ago. It's like, hey, Mark and Jack and Coke and Nikki and everybody, can we make it so that when you get booted off the map, you get the and sometimes you don't hear it in the mix because there's so much going on. But there's times when you actually do the Sparta moment, you just hear them and you're just like.
Yeah, so aside from that, it's just, once again, just the fast-paced nature of it all. You're able to get up to the middle, acquire the objective, or fight over a turf war zone, and then you just get right back to your base, and it's really, like, quick. And so, the gravity orbs are another interesting thing in here.
Sure.
The placement allows them to be utilized in interestingly strategic ways, that you can get up in there, start spinning around, and then just lock down a whole lane to the point that people can't even push through, or they try to shoot you out while your team runs the objective. So, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting tactics that are going to come from this. And once again, just like with everything, after this beta, obviously give us your feedback. August 8th, that's when our job starts. So I just can't wait to hear you guys' feedback and let us get to work.
It's a funny thing about this map was that we were planning on showing this map earlier, like last year, and then Ariane came back and he's like, "Oh, we need to show this map at this event," and then just like followed up with Josh and Trammell, like, "Let's get this map matched, let's get this in good shape." And they busted their butts for like a short period of time, and it really started to come together. And the map is only really being unveiled now. But what happened was the art team really learned how to like gel together, and I've mentioned this before that Grandview first came out in the alpha, it looked alright, it's decent, right? And then like the art team started getting so good because of this trial by fire that was Vertigo, and now they're just chugging along like a locomotive engine now.
Yeah, I think it was 5 weeks total.
Yeah,
for this
5
map, which
weeks.
Is ridiculous. When you
5 weeks to create that map.
Shout out to the art team.
Yeah,
they made it happen.
Well,
Dream.
Just so I'm putting this into perspective for people, 5 weeks from design to environment art to polish, all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, the white box and the design phase, like we tested it up to that point, but the art, like normally we want them to have a decent amount of time to make it look as awesome as it can be, but
Sure.
that one was just make it happen. So they did it.
Yeah, but that helped you guys. This is a great development story, by the way, right? That people don't really get to hear what happens behind the curtain. So that's really what brought the art team and level design to become such a well-oiled machine, right?
Yeah, just a little bit of that adversity sprinkled on top. Makes everything better. So
I mean, it's one of those things we
Yeah,
hire
that's awesome.
people from all sorts of different locations, you know, Sucker Punch and Sony and whatnot. You're working on Blacklight and everything, and to see it all, like learning how to work together and actually work as like one big, like well-oiled machine, for lack of a better term. And that was the trial by fire that really helped them prove themselves.
So what would you say, parting words to players that are going to play Vertigo, and I guess just players that are going to be playing in the beta over the next few days? What would you like to say to them before you leave?
Shit, man, just fuck shit up. That's it. Plain and simple.
Well, one thing I know from a fact, though, like I'm gonna put you on the spot here, is we're considering what modes work best in what game types.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point.
Right now,
So,
it's pretty universal. Like, and we found that, like, for example, to be frank, Chavez Station, that map, Blitzball, not necessarily the best fit because it's so small and snug that it's really hard to defend.
True.
So, upon release, we're considering some maps to allow certain game types, some ones don't. So give us some feedback for that, because Hunter and I have been going back and forth on that.
Exactly. And also, once again, these things will keep changing as we go, so that feedback's valid all the way through release. Yep. Keep it coming.
Yeah, give us crap on Discord.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So Hunter, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
We really appreciate it. And Hunter's great. He's going to be, he's always on the forums. He's always looking at Discord and all that kind of stuff, on social. So yeah, hit us up. I mean, we're an open book. Hunter as well.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is take a look at some of the pre-order incentives, because that's one thing, right? Like, why would people pre-order a digital game, right?
Get more shit.
Yeah, because we want to make sure people understand that. So yeah, there's some cool pre-order things that you guys can get exclusively from pre-ordering, but also at the same time too, when people pre-order, it helps us understand like where and what to expect from a load and server capacity standpoint. So pre-ordering's kind of important to us. So yeah, we just want to make sure you guys understand. You get some pretty cool stuff. So we're going to take a look at a trailer. So cool, you pre-order on either PS4 or PC, and you get a set of two really awesome assassin skins, one for Hellion and one for Kisune, but also the assassinated animated GIF style count portrait too. So if you're planning on buying the game, don't wait. I mean, just pre-order it and you'll get those cool skins when the game comes out.
Yeah, it goes back to what Rohan was saying. You look at the pre-order culture that has taken over in gaming, and a lot of it comes from traditional brick and mortar retail. Oh my god, we're going to run out of discs. And for us, it's not about that being digital. It's about having expectations in check in regards to having an idea of how many servers we need there day one, so we don't faceplant like so many other games do, and you can't find a server, and then you guys are moving on to God knows what.
But also with the pre-orders too, it's it's limited edition. We want to thank you for
Yeah,
tossing
sure,
in that pre-order,
absolutely.
and once the pre-order is done, we're not handing out those skins anymore. They're done.
Yeah, come and get them while you can. And so, I mean, we think our price is pretty fair and reasonable, $29.99. But we've seen a number of you who are so used to a higher price and want to throw $39. And then, like, we like keeping these lights on. So, if you want to pre-order it, feel free.
Yep. So everybody, we want to welcome Dan Nani. He's our
everybody.
lead designer on the game. I felt like it was important. Let's get you on here at the pretty much the tail end of the show to answer questions, right? So we're going to start here with questions from community on Twitter and Facebook, and then we're going to go to the chat. So let's get started.
What do we got?
All right, so the first question here is from Cafe1918. I've been looking a lot into some of the info on lore and loving it. How do you guys plan on explaining it to a larger audience?
You want to start with that?
I mean, I'm asked about lore a lot, and it's one of those things on Fridays at 11 a.m. I have to kind of be in a meeting where we look at certain things that are coming online that may be released soon that Dan and Mark and Ryan and whatnot have been working extensively on. We look at what we did with the Blur trailer and the remix of Spirit in the Sky, and that was like AAA, movie trailer, super high quality, and that's cool. But we think there's also room for slightly less bombastic, a little bit more intimate bits that could kind of explain via vignette what characters are all about and what their history are. So without revealing too much of what that will be, stay tuned. It'll be on the tubes and everything else. And also there's just a lot of little ancillary things that are poking around. At E3 there were these mysterious moon rocks.
Oh yeah.
Where did they come from?
Yeah.
The exploding moon, and they had a Snapchat little QR type code on it that you could get and kind of see the timeline that everybody, especially Dan, had worked a lot on to kind of outline the fiction of the game. And we're going to kind of seed it throughout all these different venues so that the super fans know the various ways that they can find it all instead of just dumping a 400-page tome on everybody's heads and be like, read that.
Yeah, outside of that too, there's a little bit in game. You have VO clips that'll play, especially when some characters interact with other characters. Law versus Breakers isn't just the title, but it's you have Axel who's got a certain bias against Kronos, and when he kicks him to death or shoots him to death, it's that's for my partner, and that's more information that we'll expose later on. It's our Clone Wars, for lack of a better term, moment. But we'll have a lot of those little moments where we'll reveal a little bit, entice you guys. You'll figure some of it out. Especially if you look at the account portraits when you unlock, there's a blurb that's underneath it for especially all the characters to tell you where they're from, where they're born, finally figure out what Abaddon's all about. That'll come as the game gets launched. We'll add a lot more lore inside of those unlocks.
Yeah, the initial is like, oh, that person has like cyber horns. They look cool. And I guess he's called Faust, and I like his weapon setup and his ultimate. What's he talking about going to hell? And he died once before, and then you start digging in, and then become a super fan of that kind of character. Yeah. And then you cosplay because you're gonna hopefully cosplay.
Cool. Let's do the next one. All right, from Clockwork on Twitter, Harrier won't be public until launch, and her kit looks very strong. Are y'all worried about her being OP on launch?
About as worried as any other role.
Yeah.
I would say it's whenever you add in a new role into the game, it always kind of shakes up the meta. Something kind of gets it's either overpowered or underpowered in some situations, and you just have to keep on adjusting as we go. But we test out a lot of these roles internally for quite a long time before we're ready to expose them. Harrier's been in the mix for a while now, so she's gotten a lot of, or he, depending on the side, has gotten a lot of balance work already there. We know that you guys will completely bust it up for us, though.
Yeah,
but
and do.
Yeah, we're not.
We have a hard time finding the balance. And again, I always say we look at the numbers, we read the forums, we trust our guts. But the new and shiny is often played more often, which then we're like, is it overpowered or is it just more people are playing because it's new? And that's the debates that we kind of all have back and forth. Because in the last beta, the shiny new stabby, slidey, wall jumpy, wraithy, slow you down time ability was a fan favorite, whereas some of the other roles weren't played as much. And so we're curious upon launch to see if maybe the Wraith's not played as much, but now the Harriers are played, which, by the way, when we were talking about the role name, for those of you who remember the old game, was kind of a wink at the old game Space Harrier.
Yeah, definitely a wink at that. I mean, as far as how she plays, I'd say that she's long-range support in a lot of ways. It's not about that one-shot, one-kill sniper gameplay. It's very precision-oriented, but it's about sustained damage and whether or not you're good at aiming for a consistent period of time. And I think players who are good at aiming are going to take advantage of her.
Yeah, so when you are all playing Harrier at launch, right, keep the feedback coming because we're going to still be tweaking, right? And we'll make it a point and we'll continue to do boss rooms to communicate what changes are coming. Let's go to the next question. All right, from Mr. Gunan, what types of class roles are you still looking to make? You currently have tanks, glass cannons, a support, and everything in between.
Some of the things we're alluding to is some characters that are a little bit more defendable for objectives. We found that you pretty much have to rely on the Juggernaut.
Yeah, especially for Blitzball. Blitzball is
that's the worst case.
You can play a defender Titan in Blitzball, but really you're at a disadvantage if you don't have a Juggernaut.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that we're kind of that's stewing upstairs is the idea of some more support. And it's like, okay, if you look at what Overwatch has, some of its healing characters and whatnot. Do we do different ways to heal? Do we give you fuel back? Are there intel? There's all these different categories we can give the players, but I think we've got the shooty covered. So I think that everyone upstairs is kind of itching to drift a little bit more to some support roles.
I think especially because Battle Medic has kind of proven to be a successful support role.
Totally.
People are having fun with it, not just from the healing aspect of playing them. It's support and combat all at once. So why not introduce more support and combat all at once? The game's all about killing. Let's find different ways of also supporting and adding more team play into the game.
I just don't want us to put in the whole like, oh, I put a turret and I'll be over here like checking my stocks.
I'd rather be the turret.
Cool. Good question. Next one is a great question as well, and I believe this comes from the forums. From Inferno. Will you focus on adding more and more game modes, or refining and expanding upon existing game modes based on community feedback? Also, and we get this question a lot, what is the reasoning behind not adding a TDM mode? So 2 questions, essentially.
Yeah, so adding in more game modes, I think we'll add more game modes as they become appropriate, but I think we want to start out with, we have 5 game modes at launch. 3 of them have been in beta. The 4th one is coming out in this beta right now. We still have a 5th game mode. I don't think it's as important to toss in a ton of game modes in the beginning. We got to find out what our core ones are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Refine those, make those really good, and then we'll keep on supporting as we go. As far as why we didn't go TDM, it just has never felt completely right in our world with roles that have certain ways to play. Juggernaut's a really great example. He shines in Blitzball. But if he was the objective and he was one of 4 objectives you had to kill and he was in a corner and you didn't feel like going to his corner to kill him, he would just be hanging out all by himself because he's not going to be in the center of the map where everybody else is flying. So with TDM, it's not that, we didn't do it so much as we haven't found our stamp on TDM.
Yep.
And we want to put our stamp on TDM. So when we find it, we'll do it.
It's the trend for the game. What are our archetypes? How can we twist it? What is this weapon? How can we twist it? What is this game type? How can we twist it? Which, as we said, has made onboarding a little bit tricky. But remember, you have custom game in this game. If you don't like our settings for the various game types, you can change them and roll your own and post what you think is cool. Post an exciting YouTube match that you and your friends had of it, and let us know. I mean, once you get past 5 or so game types, you get an exponentially less people on your servers because they usually gravitate towards the first 3 or 4. And so, will we consider other ones? Yeah, because we talk about test kitchen modes, things like that. But what we want to focus on is the initial modes that will ship in the game.
Yeah, and we also want to tweak and tune based off of your feedback. Next question. So this is from Fluxic. All right, I'm just going to go with it on Twitter. Will there be a ranked mode on release? If so...
Yeah, just flux it.
Yep. If so, how will it work?
At launch, no competitive ranked mode. You'll rank up your characters, obviously, and behind the scenes, we are dealing with MMR. We are matchmaking you appropriately and making sure you find even matches, so that way you're not getting stomped from the very beginning. But as far as a truly competitive mode, that is not at launch, and that's kind of where I'm going to end that. Right? We have custom game out there for a reason. We have spectator mode out there for a reason. We want you guys to start playing it and start telling us what you like and what you dislike. When, earlier in the segment, asked what map and mode combinations are important. There's a reason why we want all that information. So the more information we get from you guys, the better decisions that we get to make for the hopefully near future.
Instead of trying to force it on launch. Exactly. Be like, this is it, you're going to take it, and you're going to like it.
Right. Exactly. So we're going to kind of leave it at that. But like Dan said, just remember, right? We don't want to decide what competitive is. We want all of you to help identify what you think competitive is, and we can't get there until we have a bunch of people playing at launch. So more news on that soon, but yeah, just definitely know it's very, very important to us because we know how important it is to you. So next question. So finally, from our social here, we've got Code Ninja Gaming. Will aim assist be present in PS4? If so, will it be applied equally to all weapons, or are certain weapons getting more?
It's definitely there, and we try to keep it as soft as we could without it feeling like you're having your view yanked around like there's a fish hook in your mouth and you're being pulled to whatever random enemy you're not aiming at. We wanted to avoid that, and it took a lot of iteration. I think we've got it to a really good place. I'm not sure if we actually vary it depending on weapon.
Right now, it's just a baseline value. What we want to do is get PS4 out there, played and tested. I don't know what the hell that was.
Scream.
We want people to play around with it, kind of like we've done with our betas. You play it, you give us feedback, we tweak those values. We have a task out there to actually start finessing it per weapon. But first, let's get it out there. You play it, you give us feedback, and then we'll actually have the right response and the right input.
Word.
Yep.
All right, so let's take some questions from chat. And then, how much time do we have? Yeah, we got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, all right, here we go.
Once again.
I wish Ariane was here. Does the game run at 180 hertz from Necracy in chat? Yeah, all right.
I'm a designer, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know. So we're pushing the game as hard as
I
we
wanted
can,
to.
right?
How's that?
The frame rate's good. I like the frame rate. Frame rate.
So from Aluko in chat, what does convergence do? And that's based off of the Harrier role, right? We showed the video earlier. What does it do in terms of gameplay?
I'd say that it allows you to become the sniper for a short moment in time. It's maybe the best way to describe it, simply because it's a long-range, precise beam that does massive damage. It allows her to effectively not just do sustain, but burst really hard at any given moment. Not any given moment, when you have your key ability available to you.
Sure.
And it gives you the long-range snipe support that really kind of defines what being a sniper is like without actually being a sniper.
I never actually thought about it that way. I just thought it was almost like a hammer of dawn out on my chest. But now that you mention it, it's got a really good range, because the range of the shock rock is decent, but it's kind of mid-ish, and then the alt fire for that is one where at a range you're gonna have a hard time hitting somebody unless they're still not moving. So.
And it has that counterbalance of is a big bolt of light coming from a certain direction, shoot it or avoid it. It's very obvious to tell where it's coming from, who's doing it, and who the threat is. So you can either kill it or run away. If you're not paying attention, you'll get blasted by it, but if you are, then it's avoidable.
But the telegraphs are really good, so I can't remember what the line is right now. All I can think is I can recharge you and I have gifts for you. But when rather than pop the ultimate, I've been around the corner and I wait and I just see that beam just kind of like, and I'm just like, hang back, don't go out there. It's dangerous.
From Bwandasaur, will there be microtransactions in the game that aren't for cosmetics?
No. Nothing to do with gameplay ever.
Oh, you're new to this, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't buy it ourselves, so we're not going to buy it ourselves. We're not going to sell it.
Yeah, we're not paid for perks or weapon rentals or any of that shit.
All right. From, let's see here. From Demperial B, can we get an office tour? You know what? Let's actually maybe resurface some of our videos from the Boss Key account. We've got some fun behind-the-scenes videos that we've created over the years, and we'll be sure to get that out there for all of you new people.
It's great because our friends at Nexon have really been spending some money on some ads, and we have that great trailer, and we have some buzz coming off of E3, and we're seeing an influx of people who weren't familiar with what we were doing for a while, which is very much a good problem to have, especially in this time frame. And we've been at this for a little while, so we have about 2.5 years of content, and as of like this July or August, actually no, damn near 3. 3 years the studio's been out. So
from the Kreven, are there going to be additional weapons or loadouts for characters planned in the future?
I wouldn't say planned in the future. It's something that we definitely are trying to explore internally, without worrying about the meta or the gameplay shifting too much. It's a little frustrating. I know that some players have when a gun can change at any given moment. You know how the roll works, and suddenly they're killing you in a completely different way, and it becomes a hard counter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we want to see if there's any way of doing and supporting it. So it's not written off. It's not supported. It's something that we're thinking of actively and trying to figure out, can we support it in the future? Don't know, but thinking about it, trying to figure it out.
Cool. From these going so fast here, guys. This is great though.
Good problem to have.
Yep. From Darkflow 100, are there any animated weapon skins?
One, I think, made it in.
Not enough. God damn it.
I know.
But I mean, that leaves us more room to put more in post release. So there's a few there. There's the one that's there's like a squid or something at some point, and there was like a crocodile.
Just like a dragon breathing fire.
Eyeball looking around, but every time that show up in our Friday meeting, I'm like, give me more of that, and we never got it. So I gotta go bug Tremel Ryan after this.
There are ones that actually change in lighting, right? So they're holographic, iridescent, depending on the lighting that you're in. They'll actually change color the way you're viewing it. There's glow-in-the-dark skins that will light up when you're in darker areas of the map. So there's definitely more dynamic skins, not just on the weapons, but also on character.
Well, I mean, the fact that there's only a handful of them makes them rare.
Yep, exactly.
From Ethan Bernard, and I'll answer this one. When will we hear details on the collector's edition, or the collectible edition that we have on our pre-order page, and what is the estimated price point? We will have news very, very soon on that. Exciting stuff. We just want to do stuff for the fans and for collectors. So stay tuned very soon. All right, so let's go to the next question here. Give me a second. This is good. So from Clumsy Apple, do you think that there might be a learning curve for new players and skilled players, for example, like TF2 or Rocket League? Yeah, I think that's a huge part of our game, right?
That was one of the things we started out wanting. It wasn't necessarily being hard so much as it having depth. Something that you can kind of pick up and feel like instinctively, if I've done something like this before, I recognize it and it feels comfortable. But there would be a lot more that would be required from you in order to master it. We want mastery to be part of our process.
It's just the classic game design adage, easy to learn, a lifetime to master. And, we started off making the game. It's like, oh, here's a weapon you can pick up on the map, and whatever you are, you pick up. And then, a lot of the programmers and designers were saying, hey, let's put in, like, abilities and different movement abilities for the characters, different health, all these different, a little bit of different air control of some of the characters. Suddenly, a lot of that kind of depth started coming out of the game. And, since we're so skill-based, we've said before that, matchmaking is going to be incredibly important. We've, the folks up on the floor above us have really hammered that into a really good place. So it's no longer like 20% of your matches you win. It's getting closer to a 50%, which is very much the definition of win some and lose some.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So this is a great question from Crud the Barbarian. Who is Deadzo, and where did he originate from?
I think it was Dave Rose, our UI rock star, just kind of drew it as like the thing to see when you get killed in the game, is this kind of like, have a dead day as opposed to have a nice day. And then it became kind of iconic for the game because we had another symbol we were experimenting with for the game, like a little LB with a circle, which was okay, but it wasn't like a Nike swoosh or Crimson Omen or anything like that. And then it started to become sticky, and then I think you were in an email thread, Rohan, and you're like, we're going to call this. And do you tell it? I don't think I should walk me through the story.
So it was funny, right? Because we were going to trademark it. Yeah. Like, we were going to trademark it, but you have to have a name. Yeah. Like, in order to do it. So we were just like, what are we going to call this thing? And we went back and forth, and I had been saying around the time, like, Dunzo a lot. Like, when you're just like, dude, I'm done with this lunch. I'm Dunzo. It's just like, so I just said, Deadzo. Deadzo.
It works.
Right, cool. All right, and then we all just like, all right, let's just go with it.
That's part of game development and creativity. Is you can't always force it, but then when you're under this, like, the gun of the deadline to have this come up with something iconic for the game, and we're like, and luckily the timing turned out great, and being at E3 and hanging out at the hotel lobby, catching up with friends and seeing people with hoodies start to walk around, seeing the hat around the show floor. It's a very recognizable at a distance symbol, and first person got a tattoo of it, which was just fucking crazy. But hey, I'm flattered. So hopefully there'll be more tattoos.
I remember too, like the catalyst for it too. When you got killed, we were a little old school, and it was like, you have died, and then it was like, is it you have died? Period. Like, it was so weird, and I was like, what is this, Resident Evil? Like, why are we spelling out you've died? Can't we do something a little bit more interesting than that? And then Dave was like, I got a face.
Put the date. That's how that happened.
Yep, and that's how that started. And then
one less thing to localize.
Yep, exactly.
So there's a lot of questions in here from many people, Darkness Phantom, and a couple others, The Rich Chicken, talking about a replay system. And I think we touch on this almost every stream, right? And I think it's important that people understand the complexities and the difficulties of actually bringing a replay system to life.
I mean, it's Unreal Engine by default, was not necessarily the best setup for it. They've been taking strides over at Epic to include it in UE4 and Unreal Tournament. There was some of the integration we saw was, solid, but a little bare bones. I think we deemed it too much risk initially for launch.
Yeah.
We're all fans of it.
We really want it.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for making machinima, for capturing those great game moments. So fingers crossed. You're literally capturing everything that goes through the network and finding a way to restage it. It's not a simple and easy task. You find that games like Call of Duty and the Quake engine are a little bit better at that. And we would still love to have it. I was told back in the day at Epic, why are you going to do something that only a small percentage of users are going to use? And like now in 2017 and beyond, well, it's like, they're going to make something that could go viral or sell people on your game, and they're your tastemakers. So this is the kind of thing we would very much love to have.
Yeah, we definitely want to do it. It just takes time and effort. Now that the engine supports it, it has to be fundamentally built into the engine. And when we started the project, it wasn't, and it was going to require us to do it from scratch. Yep. And so eventually, it's supported now in Unreal, but at that point, we were full steam ahead trying to make the game, and if we took out a coder or two to support this, it would have just meant that what role is not coming out, or what game mode is
Potentially
not
one
happening.
more cool thing that we can deliver to you guys for free after launch.
Yep.
So one question that a lot of people are asking as well, and I don't know if we know the answer, but it's definitely something that's very cool: custom crosshairs.
Custom crosshairs, not in the near future, but I believe, and I don't know if it's coming out at launch or soon after, we talked about simplified crosshairs at least being an option. So that way, the crosshairs that you have in there now, all you want is a little dot in the center, flip a switch, and it'll all just turn to a
Potentially
little dot in
color
the center.
modification too.
And color
There's just
modification.
A lot of the things that we weren't able to get in for launch that
Right.
would be very, very nice.
It'll be supported. All this stuff that we also want to do ourselves. It
Yeah,
just is going to be
absolutely.
something that we have to support as the game lives on.
We got 65 people, guys. Come on.
All right, so we'll take a couple more questions here and then close out. This is a good one from Decagon. Was there ever a design for a class that never got off the ground or was too difficult to balance?
Yeah.
This is the stuff that I absolutely
Where do we
love.
start with this
I
one?
love cutting the floor
We'll
stuff.
talk about the kind of snipey clone.
Oh, the snipey clone guy. What do we call him? We called him Hitman, and his ability I
Yeah.
always nicknamed like the Lee Harvey Oswald, right?
Nice.
It basically you created the second shooter, and you created a clone of yourself that you
A
passed
magic
around
bullet.
the map, and they both would fire where you were. But I loved using him. The meta kind of evolved where you toss the clone down, he'd spawn, you jump somewhere, engage in a firefight, trick everybody, and then suddenly swap spots with this clone. And they were trying to kill the clone while you were shooting them from the back, and it was really fun and engaging. But it was super hard to balance because he was too. I don't know. People felt a little cheated when they got killed by him.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean,
You know?
it's you're using yourself you're dual wielding with your body, man, but it's one of those things that's just in our hopper. Like we have, the main 9 roles, 18 characters that are going to be shipping, but we have a whole toy box of things that we tried and played with that didn't work out, turn out, that may be reconstituted for future roles, and I'd rather have that kind of gumbo of ideas that we could leverage and maybe dust off that code. Maybe that could find new life, right?
Yeah, snipers in general we've had 5 iterations of snipers, I think.
Yeah, no ghillie suits in this game.
Yeah, but I think we found the
But
awesome
gunslinger.
balance, right, for our game,
Exactly.
right? So you have the fantasy of that precision gameplay,
Yep.
but you don't have a scope, and you have that satisfaction of
Yeah, it's
pulling
about
off
precision and skilled
Yeah.
shots, which is what the fantasy of being a sniper is. Like, you want to be
And
able
we
to
got
talk.
that gunslinger.
Yep.
All right, so final question here from Frothy Omen.
Frothy!
Yeah, buddy.
Stay frothy.
Has there been any progress on onboarding process for new players?
So we have a really light tutorial that's going to go into the game. It's a sandbox tutorial. Jump in there. A couple of little waypoints that'll pop up, give you some messages. It was, again, one of those questions that we had, like, how can we divert resources to make this the best experience possible? And it was, well, for right now, let's just focus on making something that you can go in safely and practice. A couple of bots that you can run around and shoot and blow them up. They really aren't going to do anything to you. Otherwise, it's a bunch of videos that Rohan and your crew have produced, which are awesome to get more information. We'll surface those inside of the game so you can load them up while you're waiting to matchmake, and you'll be able to load up custom game by yourself if you want to, select any map mode combination, and just go and start practicing.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add there, right, is that all of you can be a part of that process by creating content and helping educate those lower skill players and really give them an aspirational moment by showing them how great this game can be played. You're helping us out with the onboarding process as well. So, that's a tricky thing about making a multiplayer only game with a relatively small crew.
Yep.
And archetypes that aren't the same exact shit that everybody else does.
Yeah, so hey, help us out, guys. I mean, all of you can help spread the word as well to best play this game.
You just reverse that. You're like, well, why don't you guys make more videos?
That was smooth.
But yeah, we love it. We love all of you, and we appreciate it. So we're gonna close out the questions at this point. A couple of things that we wanna say real quick and promote real fast. Let's start with the merch store. So to celebrate the Rise Up beta that starts tomorrow, we got 15% off on our Dead Zo tees.
They're nice and soft too.
Yeah, they're high quality. No Hanes beefy tee.
Yeah, no cardboard box.
Yeah, so go to store.lawbreakers.com, use code RISEUP, and you'll get 15% off.
And tweet us photos of you wearing it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll definitely feature that stuff. And also, too, we've got some friends over at Nexon that are going to be doing some streams over the next couple of days. We've got our community manager, Lumos, and Rad Roto that are going to be playing the game. They're great players. We'll be around to answer your questions in chat. we just want to be around over the next couple of days to play the game and really have that back and forth. So be sure to tune in there as well.
Join us on Discord.
Yeah, Discord, the team. We've got a lot of people from the team in Discord. If you have questions, let us know. And
especially during the betas, our Discord's hopping. We'll all be in there and just getting feedback from everybody and using random question mark macros to talk all sorts of Rick and Morty quotes.
All right, so with that, I say check out the patch notes, get the latest on the balance changes, get ready for tomorrow. We're super excited for you guys to play the new mode, Uplink, check out Vertigo, and give us your feedback because the game comes out on August 8th, right around the corner.
Yes, it is.
$29.99, $39.99 extra skins.
Yep, and there's still a couple of fun announcements to be made leading up to launch. So
stay tuned.
Yep, everybody, thank you, and we'll see you online in the game tomorroll.
Tell your friends.